tech workers at the New York Times are in a union fight, and the staff at Politico are also in a union fight. And there's some fun reactions from at least one person on the right about that. But let's talk about the situations first so that we have an understanding of what's going on. At the New York Times, they have been in a union fight there, and the tech workers have joined the union fight. And the latest kerfuffle, the latest battle in the war for these tech workers has been over the bargaining unit and the definition of the bargaining unit specifically. Of course, that's not why they're organizing. We've talked to the media unionization wave has been all across the country in all sorts of publications, and we've talked to a few people about that. We've talked to people at the Appeal Union, people at the New Yorker. We talked to the interim organizing director for the New York News Guild, of which this campaign is a part, but the definition of the bargaining unit is something interesting and something that you see in every union fight, whether or not it's a media union fight. And in fact, it is something that we saw here in here in Alabama at the Amazon fight. Initially, the union was only petitioning to represent the 1,500 full-time employees at the Amazon facility. They have lots. They have, in fact, thousands of seasonal workers and part-time workers that it, in some ways, just doesn't really make sense for them to be a part of the union. And so in the same way that politicians want to gerrymander districts to make it so that it benefits them, the politicians want to pick their voters instead of the voters picking their politicians, the bosses want to pick the bargaining units instead of the bargaining units themselves organizing on their own and deciding how they want their bargaining unit defined. And so in the Amazon fight, what we saw was an expansion of the bargaining unit by the boss to make it more difficult to organize, to make it more difficult for the workers to organize. And you see both things happening. You see bosses expanding the bargaining unit, and you see bosses decreasing the bargaining unit whenever it benefits them. It's not because it makes sense or it doesn't. It's just what is going to give more power to the boss. In Bessemer, Alabama, it gave more power to the boss to expand the bargaining unit to make the union less likely. At the New York Times, what's happening is the boss is decreasing the bargaining unit because they know that the union will win. The News Guild, the New York News Guild, has not lost an election in years. The bargaining unit that has been proposed by the workers already have 70% of the bargaining unit signing a public pledge to support the union, okay? This union is going to win. So in order to give more power to themselves as the boss, the New York Times is artificially decreasing the bargaining unit, and their proposed bargaining unit is a third less than what the employees themselves believe makes sense. And so why would you do that? Why would you want to decrease the size of the bargaining unit? That's because if you know the union is going to win, the election is going to go through, and there's going to be a union at the end of it, you want it as small as possible because the less workers that you have bargaining against you, the less leverage they have. It's obvious that that's the reason that collective bargaining works, is because the more you have collectively coming together, the more power you have. The reason that it made sense down in Bessemer for them to expand it is because the expansion made the union less likely to win, right? Does that make sense, Adam? I think I'm making sense. I don't know.
Yes, you're making sense.
Okay. Sometimes I wanted to make sure that I was making sense. I rambled for a little bit. So that's what the latest dust up in the union battle at the New York Times is about. And over that, which the employees there actually contend is illegal union busting on the part of the New York Times. They staged a half-a-day walkout today, which is just, I mean, that is really, really cool. And so they walked off the job for half a day, asserting their right to a union, asserting their right to self-organization free of coercion and intimidation and gerrymandering by the boss. And, you know, more power to them, solidarity with them. I hope they're able to get the bargaining unit that they believe that they deserve or they believe makes the most sense. And this is actually, I mean, yet again, here's another reason that the PRO Act is so important, because the PRO Act would take the boss totally out of bargaining unit definition, because unions are really, at their base, they are supposed to be worker self-organization. What the boss says doesn't matter. Now, what the boss says matters when it comes to contract negotiations, when it comes to what are they willing or not willing to give up. But when it comes to how are we going to actually define the bargaining unit, it shouldn't matter what the boss says. The workers should be able to self-organize however they see fit. And currently the law gives the boss way too much power in that process, and the PRO Act would take that away. That's another reason that it's so important for the PRO Act to pass, is because it would make battles like this. It would be one more thing that the workers don't have to worry about. So if you want to see what we're up to throughout the week when we're not doing these midweek streams, you ought to follow us on social media. We are on Facebook at facebook.com/The Valley Labor Report. We are on Twitter at Labor Reporters. I'm on Twitter at JacobM_AL. If you missed part of the show and want to go back and watch it later, you can search YouTube for The Valley Labor Report and subscribe to our channel. You can go back and watch the full show there, and we upload segments and release them throughout the week. We do upload the program on more than 11 different podcasting apps. So to see if we are on your listening platform of choice, you can go to thevalleylaborreport.transistor.fm/subscribe. We have a website now where you can buy our hats and stickers. That is thevalleylaborreport.org, and we have one hat left. We had somebody buy a hat last week, and we've got one left. So if you want it, you better go get it. Thevalleylaborreport.org. That is $35, including shipping and handling. And finally, if you appreciate our work and you want to help us stay on the air, then consider throwing us a couple dollars a month on patreon.com/The Valley Labor Report.